So you've been tearing vehicles for a time, and can you talk a little bit about what you discovered with Tesla's edge over others, both in their battery technology and charging infrastructure?
Yeah, let's talk about the charging infrastructure first off, because as far as I'm concerned, that's the bottleneck for EV adoption. Corey, my president, Corey Steuben, he'll be talking a little bit later. But anyway, Corey and I did a 11-day, 8,500-mile trip across from Detroit to California to Oregon, down to Texas to meet Elon, and then back to Detroit. We never once had a problem. My wife will not drive the Rivian on any long trips. Why? Because the charging systems suck. If you don't have Tesla charging systems, you really don't have much of a chance, at least in our neighborhood anyway, to do that kind of a trip. It's not possible. And the reason for that is because many of them just don't work, period. Tesla they always work. Doesn't matter how cold it is, doesn't matter anything. If it says that the charger's going to be there and operational, you can bet your bottom dollar that that's what's going to happen. As far as the technologies associated with Tesla, their electronics and their software is probably about anywhere from 5 to 8 years ahead of everybody else. Their build systems and whatnot, everybody on the planet now is going to giant castings. 15 years ago, excuse me, I have allergies. If I start coughing, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I can tell you right now, we've been trying to push this for 15 years. Elon Musk comes out with castings, and now everybody on the planet is buying these gigantic machines and eliminating basically 90% of the parts and 100%, well, almost 100% of the operations to fasten them in place. The only thing that Tesla is getting beaten at right now is by Lucid, believe it or not, and that would be their power system. Their electric motor, their differential, their gearbox, everything associated with that thing has eclipsed what Tesla has. I said this to some folks who are in finance and whatnot. If Lucid goes out of business, they should go into powertrain business. That's the only thing that's better than Tesla. Everything else, Tesla clobbers them on.
Well, do you see Tesla maintaining this advantage into the future, or will there be other competitors that you have an eye on that may begin to catch up?
Tesla moves faster than anybody. We say they innovate at the speed of thought. And they can probably get anything faster to market than everybody else. And I'm talking about seriously faster to market. We're looking at maybe 50 to 75% faster than any other car company has ever moved, period, ever. 18 months, and they've got a complete change to their vehicle. That's an amazing advantage that they have. Other car companies, though, like outside you've got Ford, and I kind of recommend the Mustang and Polestar and on. But I will tell you, if you're in the business for a truck, don't buy an ordinary F-150. Get the Lightning. That thing is brilliant as far as I'm concerned, as far as advancements, and just a truck that actually, because I used to work for a living, believe it or not, and when I did that, I had a pickup truck, and the Lightning eclipses anything that I've ever bumped into.
Okay, great.
Hugely effective.
So what sort of advances can we expect that will lower battery costs and make EVs more affordable?
So batteries right now are probably, there's more technology and more brain power going into battery technology than ever. So I've seen, I've been invited to go and look at a tremendous number of battery facilities and whatnot. So I've seen real solid state, semi-solid state, sodium-ion batteries, LFP batteries, all kinds of battery technologies, but there's even more sitting out there. There's the brain power that's going into how do we how do we store energy in batteries is phenomenal. And I was just mentioning, I haven't seen this yet. I'm kind of reluctant to even talk about it, but there's somebody who's come out with a battery that you can pour. So you just pour it in the crevices inside the vehicle that normally would go to waste, and somehow this guy he's claiming anyway that he can charge the car that way. I haven't seen this battery. I don't know anything else about it, and I only heard about it like a week or so ago.
Right.
So I want to go and see that one.
What's the next big step? I mean, solid-state battery technology is said to be a game changer.
Yeah.
When do you expect to see that technology employed, and what are its advantages over current tech?
So solid-state batteries are very, very difficult to manufacture if they're true solid state. Dry cell is what Tesla is now doing with the 4680. I was there. I looked at their anode being manufactured. Corey and I were both there. We looked at the anodes being manufactured, and they are dry. How they did that, I have no clue, but they are dry. That is a big step towards solid state. It does have some liquid in it, you know, but at the end of the day, it's for the most part a dry battery. That's pretty close. Most of the rest of the solid state batteries that I've seen are still being manufactured in experimental mode, not in production mode. Yeah.
When you talk about the dry battery, what sort of advantages are there? Less heat, quicker charging times?
Oh, if you look at, okay, so I've got an electrolyte that I have to put in, but I also have to get rid of the fumes and whatnot. There's a gigantic amount of the factory that's just dedicated to getting rid of that nastiness. So if we say that the factory line might be this long, if I go to dry cell, is this big.
Long.
I mean, so all that investment goes away, which means that the battery price should go down. And again, every time we see what's going on with Tesla, the advancements are just faster than everybody else. And so what winds up happening is they take more and more market share. It's going to be hard for other people to catch up because there's always meetings and there's always someone's opinion or a legal, you know, well, what happens if Tesla doesn't seem to care about that.
Right. Well, you know, while scaling up battery production will cut costs, what's being done about rising raw material costs, especially lithium and certain rare earths that are used in motors?
Right. So a lot of the car companies you're going to find are going to be going to LFP, lithium iron phosphate. These are batteries that we can make right here in the United States. We've got all the wherewithal to do that. As far as raw materials like lithium or cobalt, there's a town in Ontario, Canada, called Cobalt. Guess why? I mean, at the end of the day, we have these mines. We have the ability to refine. However, we also have a lot of rules and regulations about refining. Basically, if you look at the center of the United States and Canada, that big giant hoop there that it's called the Badlands. That's all. Those are all rare earth materials, including lithium. So we have the raw materials, but talking somebody into refining those, that's where you got a lot of people who have a really short-sighted view on things that really hold everything back.
Because in today's economy, a lot of that refining is actually done in China, isn't that correct?
Right, and unless I'm not wrong very often. Actually, I was going to thank Lauren for his projections and whatnot. I've been pushing since 2019 that by 2030 we will be at 50%, and there's a thing that John McElroy put on his show called Sandy's Law or Munro's Law that basically says once we hit 5%, it'll double every year until we get to 50%. So that means that by about 2028, we should be about 50% of all the new cars being manufactured are going to be electric vehicles. And Lauren wasn't that much different than when I am. But we've been pushing this for a long time. I think the adoption rate is going to go up a lot faster than everybody else thinks, and the reason for that is because kids children from 7 to 13 do not like gas vehicles.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. So you mentioned a little bit earlier about public charging infrastructure,
Yeah.
and it seems to be an issue that's affecting EV adoption. What sort of things can be done to address these consumer concerns?
To be quite frank, I would have dumped every nickel that I could in getting Tesla to build chargers for other vehicles. I really like their chargers. You know, I think that I've never seen one down. You know, I travel a lot. I have a Model 3. Like I said, Corey and I ran around 8,500 miles. That's a lot of miles in 11 days. And we didn't have range anxiety. We didn't waste too much time charging and whatnot. And we went 80-20. So when we got down around 20%, we pull over, charge up, and get out. And that's just enough time to run to the bathroom, buy a hot dog at some, you know, rat hole restaurant, and then get back on and go again.
Right.
So I don't recommend, unless you're in a Tesla. Tesla has the best front seats on the planet. I don't like the rear seat, but the front seat is without a question of a doubt a gem. It's fabulous. Yeah.
Do you think that manufacturers will have to get into the charging game?
Yeah, I don't really understand the rationale behind that. I know why Tesla did it, because nobody would do it.
Right.
And they wound up with a really good charger, but I don't see why companies like Ford would want to get into that game. If I was Ford Motor Company, I'd have a handshake with Elon Musk and say, we're going to change our adapter. It is going to suit your plug. That's what I would do. But I really don't understand it. I don't see you know, GM getting into the gas business. I just don't understand it. By the way, one of the other okay, so you're going to hear a thump. That would be Corey, because I'm going to go into something that may be classified as too political. But you do know that we stopped the Keystone Project, which drove up the price of gasoline, which made it look even better to go and buy an electric vehicle. But now, our glorious president has opened up drilling on the northwest coast of Alaska. Everybody that's got territory up there, Russia, Canada, Greenland even, they already know that there's oil up there. Nobody's touched it because there's too much of a risk. You want to see the adoption of EVs go up? Make the price of gas go up. But now, because of a lot of other political whatevers, we've got to have we've got to have more gasoline.
Right.
It's like a ridiculously stupid. By the way, the driving force should be how much cheaper it is to drive your electric vehicle versus an ICE vehicle. All you have to do to find that out is talk to anybody, excuse me, who has an EV and had an electric vehicle. So my wife and I have a Rivian, and we checked it out. On average, if we plug in at home, it costs us about $9.10 per month. How much does it, by the way, we do have solar panels and battery packs in the basement. How much for my wonderful Rubicon Jeep Wrangler? $254.
Wow.
Are you shitting? Why isn't that being projected?
Right.
Why isn't that coming out?
Right.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's a whole lot cheaper and then that doesn't include things like oil changes.
Right.
And injector problems and all the other stuff that can go wrong with it. By the way, I'm an engine engineer, so I'm talking from experience. All the things that can go wrong, not to mention the heat and everything else that drives the vehicles. There used to be a thing between the driver and the engine called a firewall. Now it's a chunk of plastic in a Tesla. It's just got a plastic barrier. That's it.
Right.
We don't have a heat generating kind of product. We don't. And by the way, gasoline and batteries, they both catch on fire.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things.
So speaking of batteries, what's going on today with battery recycling? Do you see them being repurposed, or will they be scavenged for their raw materials?
Well, I will tell you the guys that are trying to recycle are having a big problem trying to get batteries. They aren't dying as quickly as the big OEM marketing people would have you to believe. Like range anxiety, that was an OEM, big OEM, ICE company, whatever, trying to get that. We should get biodiesel because that's much more ecologically beneficial than going to electricity, on and on. These guys got tons of money from marketing, and we just don't really understand it in the electric world. So that's why what we need to do is we need to focus on that kind of stuff. But right now, if you're recycling batteries, the big problem is getting them. There's not as many dying or getting into crashes and whatnot as what you'd think. Like the press loves this. I mean, if it bleeds, it reads, right?
Right.
So,
right.
So at the end of the day, there isn't that much that we can get from a recycling standpoint. But it is possible, and it is done. And in our case at Munro, we've given batteries away to, like battery packs away to different organizations and whatnot, so that they can reuse them. Because when we take them apart, what do you do? Well, we're not going to destroy them, and I'm not going to send them for recycling. They're brand spanking new, so we give them all away to other people.
But in the process, you know, Lauren's slides were showing an increased market for used EVs. Do you believe that there will be this sort of infrastructure that will evolve to where you will get refurbished battery packs to extend the life of some of these used vehicles?
I'm sure that there will be. I know that people are using old BMW i3s and whatnot, and old Leafs and what. They park them in the backyard and they turn them into, the car then becomes a battery pack that
right.
they use to drive the house. So you'll have that kind of stuff. But those vehicles are old, and that technology was old, and things have moved a lot. You're seeing like almost 100% difference between one year to the next as far
right.
as technology and efficiency for battery usage and whatnot. It's totally different now than it was in the olden days. So to me, you're going to find out that, okay, so 150,000 miles, 200,000 miles, that's what you can get an ICE vehicle if you take care of it properly. With an electric vehicle, you're looking at 500,000 miles. I don't see it getting in. I see people keeping their cars for a lot longer. There's no reason. You don't wear out an electric motor. Batteries do not diminish the way that the marketing that came from the big OEMs, they don't diminish that quickly. In the olden days, maybe, but not now. Even your brakes and tires don't wear out as much, especially if you're a single pedal driver.
Right.
And that's kind of like what happens.
Braking.
Yeah. Because you don't use the brakes.
Right.
The tires are not jammed solid with a braking kind of system if you're using regen all the time. So it just won't wear out. There's no reason. And people have already got 500,000 miles on old Model S's, and actually one guy's got almost 1 million miles on an old Model S, and he's still driving it. So that's where the used car market. Why should I trade it in if it's still working? Yeah.
Right. So, Sandy, could you give us a peek into the future a little bit? What sort of technology, ranging from, let's say, wireless charging to powered roadways, are feasible for EVs?
Almost anything that you just said is feasible. Whether or not there's some way that we can make it so that somehow we could, make these things happen. Wireless charging is already being done elsewhere, so that's not in the future. I'm looking at a lot of newer things that maybe could be sitting out there. Unfortunately, I got NDAs up the yin-yang right now, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of new things that are coming out. Without tipping my hat too much, there's a thing called capacitors, right? And in essence, you can put electricity into them very quickly, but it wants to come out quickly. Lightning in a bottle, basically. And in essence, there are people that are working on how do I put capacitors and batteries together so that I can charge up instantly almost, and then I can somehow suck that juice out a little bit at a time and put it back into the battery so that I can use it. That's out there right now.
In essence, we're looking at some sort of hybrid battery pack down the road?
That's what I would suggest. A hybrid battery pack. This guy that has the liquid battery, that might change my mind, but right now the one that I look at that maybe has got more legs than anything else is capacitors and battery packs.
That's great. That's great. Well, we're ending our time here. I'd really like to thank you for all your expertise.
Well, thank you.
And if you have any other quick projections you want to make.
Quick projections? I think you're going to see, this won't be popular, but I think what you're going to see is that the United States is going to have to allow Chinese vehicles in. We do have BYD making buses here in Los Angeles. The bus manufacturing that BYD is going to want to keep on doing is going to probably, there are going to be trade-offs. There's always trade-offs in politics, and they're going to want to bring their cars in. And when they do, it'll be very similar to what happened when the Japanese they started bringing cars over. The Chinese vehicles are not junk. I know the press says they're crap, but I spent about 3 months a year from 2014 until 2019, actually 2013 to 2019, in China. I guarantee you their products are as good as anything that can be put out by BMW, Mercedes, Ford, whomever. They're just as good. And I'm predicting that by about 2030, there's going to be a giant amount of Chinese cars here in the United States because they are well in advance of most of the OEMs here in the U.S.
Wow, that's quite a prediction.
It's not really. This is like rolling off a log prediction. Yeah. So, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Sandy.
Okay, thank you.